Hello, fans, and welcome back to another edition of Stoverload. The segment today and the format of today's segment has been changed. Due to the recent passings of Mr. Hot Rod, Mr. Rowdy Roddy Piper, him passing at the age of 61 this week, it was only right that I took the time out to reflect and honor and pay tribute to one of my favorite childhood wrestlers. Roddy Piper was always one of those wrestlers that, and I really think in my personal opinion, he was the first bad guy that was cool. He even said it himself, he was cool before cool was cool. I might have that catchphrase of his wrong, but you get the idea. Roddy Piper was one of those guys that when you came to a show and you watched, you got everything you wanted. You got everything you wanted and then some. There was no such thing as a bad Roddy Piper match, a bad Roddy Piper angle. There was no such thing because everything Roddy Piper did was golden. No matter who he worked with, no matter who he was working against, you always got the best that you could ever want, and Roddy Piper gave just that. And it was always so much fun watching Roddy Piper. It really was growing up watching him. I mean, I remember the first movie that he did. It was I don't remember the movie, I don't remember the title of the movie, but I do remember that some promoter took rock and roll bands and mixed it with wrestling and made it one giant show. And it was one of the coolest things ever. It really was, and I believe one of the Samoans was in that movie with him as well. Then he went on to do the movie They Live. If you don't remember that movie, that's another classic. Not just because Roddy Piper was in it, but for horror movies and scary movies from the 80s. That was another movie that was very highly recognized. Roddy Piper got to walk through a town with these special sunglasses, and those sunglasses allowed him to see aliens living among us. That's why they call it They Live. So Roddy was no stranger to the big screen any more than he was to wrestling. So his name was a household name, for those who really knew him. But he was just going and going and going. And if you ever heard the name Roddy Piper, or you heard bagpipes or anything Scottish, it always came back to Roddy Piper. And as I said before, Roddy was dedicated to what he did. It's really never going to be the same without him. It's really not. I mean, hell, just last month we lost Dusty Rhodes. Now we lost Roddy Piper. All these greats, they gave so much that built this business into what it is today. You wouldn't see guys like CM Punk or Dean Ambrose, I would say Steve Austin, but he's kind of an element of his own. But Roddy Piper was that guy that he's the one who really pushed the envelope of, hey, I'm not a big built technical wrestler, but I can kick your ass just as good as anyone, and I can give these fans give them something better than what most can. And he just, that image inspired so many people, and it's, with the traditions and what he gave and how people took him and they learned and they educated themselves through his work. It'd be nice if you saw a lot of people, if you're going to honor and pay tribute to someone who came before you, at least pick their brains to better you further. And that's somewhat of a common annoyance because a lot of people in the wrestling business who don't really work very hard at it, but they'll say their inspirations and their favorites were guys like Roddy Piper, but yet they're not really being unique or original. They're just biting off everything he did. And that's usually the problem in wrestling. A lot of people just like to bite. Hell, go to a local show. Tell me how many Sweet Chin Musics or Code Breakers you see, and you'll see my point. But Roddy Piper, I want to take this time just to say thank you. And if his family ever gets to listen or hear any of this, to all of you, my deepest condolences and my deepest sincerities. It's never easy losing someone. And I'm sure it's even harder when you lose someone that meant so much to so many around the world. But there's one thing that I hope everybody takes to heart, is that when you lose someone or someone passes, they're not really gone. Their memories, their good times, the impacts they left on people, the influences that he put on people, those don't go away. And that I believe is what is called a legacy. Besides having children to carry on a name, I do think there has to be something about you left behind for your legacy to go besides just that. I do believe this is a big part of it. So, Roddy, God bless you. Thank you for everything you did for this business, and then some. It's never going to be the same without you. And I just hope that God gave you the nicest room in the hotel in heaven. I hope you have the best. And to his family, once again, on behalf of Stoverload, the Turnbuckle Pad, and many, many others, and many fans around the world, we want to say thank you to his family. And we also want to let them know that just because Roddy isn't here doesn't mean he's gone. In the meantime, fans, today's segment has just been a little special tribute and honor to Roddy Piper. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any Roddy Piper stories you'd like to share, you're always welcome to hit me up at email by stoverload773@gmail.com. That's ST, V as in vampire, RLOAD 773@gmail.com. Hope to hear from you guys. Until then, fans, have a good week and stay blessed.